Today I'll be showing you how to repair a leak that may be caused by the valve body. If you are experiencing a leak that seems to be coming from in between the trigger frame and receiver, or still having a leak after replacing the cup seal, these will be the signs to inspect the valve body. In order to get the valve body out, you should have the rear internals and front internals removed, which were covered in the previous video. Your marker should look like this: front plug, valve spring, cup seal and valve pin removed, and the rear internal should be removed also. Bolt, striker buffer, spring, and striker plug. To remove the valve body, you must remove the valve body set screw. With the 4mm Allen wrench, go ahead and remove the valve body set screw. Once removing the valve body set screw, go ahead and grab a battle swab, stick it into the back end of the bottom chamber, and push the valve body out the front. Once you have the valve body out, go ahead and inspect it. Now that you have replaced the valve body O-ring and inspected the valve body face, go ahead and insert that back into the marker, making sure that you line up the blind hole for the valve body set screw to line up properly so you can lock it in place. Once you have it lined up in the gun, go ahead and get the set screw and lock the valve body in place. Now you'll be ready to reinstall all the internals. So go ahead and get the front plug, valve spring, cup seal, and valve pin, making sure that you line it up inside the valve body, and line up the set screw with the front plug. Once you have that lined up, go ahead and tighten the set screw down. Now you'll want to reinstall the hose. Go ahead and install the hose fitting back on and tighten it with a 13mm wrench. Once you have that installed, go ahead and install the trigger frame. And remember to install the hose where the hose cutout is on the frame, not where the magazine cutout is. Once you have that installed, grab the frame screw and hand tighten that down, and then install the magazine well screws. Keep in mind when installing these screws that they do not need to be over tightened. The one screw that needs to be tightened will be the back screw on the trigger frame. Make sure when you get that to be snug to give it a quarter turn afterwards to ensure that it's tightened onto the frame. Then you want to install the hose back on to the ASA and tighten that down with your wrench. Once you have that tightened, go ahead and install the rear internals. Go ahead and grab your bolt and striker and line up the striker with the bolt pin. When installing the bolt, make sure to install in the top chamber and slide it all the way down until you can line up the striker with the bottom chamber. Once it's lined up, go ahead and slide it in and apply pressure on the back so you can pull the trigger to get the bolt to slide all the way in. Then what you'll want to install is the striker buffer, the spring, and the striker plug. Keep in mind that the bolt is not cocked all the way in, so go ahead and apply pressure and pull the trigger to lock it all the way inside. Once you have it locked in, go ahead and get the disconnect pin, push the plug forward, and lock in the pin. Once you have that locked in, go ahead and screw on the cocky knob, grab your flathead and tighten it down, and put the cover on. Then you'll be able to test the marker to make sure it's installed correctly. You should be able to cock it back, it should lock in the back position, and when you fire, it should slide forward.